sad things in my life that I don't get to become friends with a really important Harvard professor till I'm 63 years old, and they can't do me any good. Like, suppose I knew Stephen Walt when I was 17. Of course, he wasn't born, but but gee, it's just. I mean, anyway. This is the guy. He wrote. This is the Walt of Walt Mearsheimer, and that is the book that really changed the terrain on this issue. I just, biography was mentioned as a legitimate thing to talk about, and I like talking about myself. I mainly like talking about my grandchildren, but I'll do that some other time. I worked on Capitol Hill for 15 years. Quickly say about Capitol Hill, what I think about Capitol Hill. I'll say it right up front. It's all about money, and it's all about re-election. 99.9% of the members of Congress care about nothing except getting reelected. There are hardly any heroes up there of any kind. Maybe there's a few, but some of your favorite liberal, I'm assuming with this crowd, liberal members of Congress you think that they're brave, but they're only brave or it won't cost them 10 cents. I mean, it's really amusing almost to watch. They'll say, oh, but so-and-so is like, he's so amazing on the environment, or he's so amazing on marriage equality. So I say, oh, yeah, have you heard what he says about the Palestinians? He's a hater. And it's just, this is what it's like up there. And I have to say, it's not a difference I have with Walt Mearsheimer, as if first name Walt, last name Mearsheimer, is that it is all about corruption and these guys being bought with contributions and all that. I mean, not real corruption, not the kind you go to jail for, but this other kind of corruption, the legal kind of corruption. But that's the way it is on every issue you care about. So when people zero in on the Jewish lobby and say, oh, they own Congress, well, let's say have a line of all the people who own Congress. I mean, it's like every single issue that is important to the American people, there are lobbyists who are up there thwarting the majority of the Americans. And now we have a situation where maybe the majority of Americans want their own interests thwarted. I mean, we're really dealing with a very difficult situation. And I just sometimes say, why do you pick on the Jewish lobby, the Israel lobby? Well, that's what I know about best. But I've come up against the other ones too. And they certainly give AIPAC a run for the money, that's for sure. Unfortunately, the Palestinians essentially, despite the fact that AIPAC likes to say there's an Arab lobby, there really is no Palestinian lobby that exists in Washington. What they like to say is that there's a Saudi lobby and there's an oil lobby. That's all very well, but they don't care about the Palestinians. All right, how did I get into this blogging thing? I was working at Israel Policy Forum, which was a pro-Israel, pro-peace organization. Someone over there said, why don't you write a column every week? And I wrote this thing called IPF Friday, which we started with 50 people, and then it went out more and more. And then this guy, Josh Marshall from Talking Points Memo, said, why don't you blog at Talking Points Memo? And then Huffington Post asked me to blog there. And this was going on for years. And here I am, 63. If I was just a little bit older, I would have sort of like missed this, Like the internet was invented for me. I have a million opinions on things and I write them nonstop and people read them. It's like amazing. So it's just, I gotta think it's like amazing on the Gaza relief ship. I wrote I'm now at Media Matters for America. It is an amazing organization, which is in the business of monitoring right-wing propaganda on everything. They have, until I got there, they did not have they did nothing on foreign policy. They made this decision to hire me and hire me with my views because they wanted to be involved with this issue. They wanted to be involved with the Palestinian issue. They wanted to be involved with stopping a war with Iran. I mean, and this is a big thing. Matt Duss in the back, who is like my younger counterpart at the Center for American Progress, he's also all over the place. What has changed since their book maybe is that big institutions that rely on contributions hire people like us and aren't afraid to hire people like us. And that is an important change. It used to be the AIPAC crowd, as it was said before, owned the terrain. So what's going to, now, now I'm at a place where my stuff goes out everywhere. Matt is, the others obviously are, Stephen is, Mondo Weiss was my Bible. I thought I was the only person who read it. Now it's sort of like everybody reads it. It's like, it's changing. And I think I met Jerome Slater for the first time today. I've been reading him for years. I don't even know who these people are, but the opinions are out there, and it's.
You're not alone.
Well, you're in Buffalo. So, the blogosphere has changed everything. It was just the New York Times before, and they don't read the New York Times in Oregon, but the young people in Oregon are on the internet all the time. Okay, what is the solution in terms of politics, of policy? Well, there's an organization called J Street, which I'll say there are a few things that have changed everything, sort of. It's like the Walt Mearsheimer book, the creation of J Street, and Peter Beinart's article in the New York Review of Books about how young Jews are becoming disaffected by right-wing Israel. There are other things that changed it, but it's the internet that amplifies all of this. When the lobby goes and attacks Peter Beinart, oh my God, the most vicious stuff. If it was just an article in the New York Review 10 years ago, who would read it? Who reads the New York Review before? Just like really swanky New York intellectuals. Doesn't matter. Now it's everybody, because the way the young people read is they don't go to newspapers. They go to the internet. They look for what the subjects they care about, and they read about it. So it's this kind of narrowing this way enables people like us who work on this issue to get our stuff read, and it's just changed. It's not just, oh, you're going to get buried in the New York Times. No, it's not at all. I wrote a piece on Marty Peretz, and it's talking about the party that was honoring Marty Peretz. I got that information from Mondo Weiss. They were having this party at Harvard to honor him, and Al Gore was going to be there and all that stuff. I just picked it up, and I went to the original place, and I wrote about it, and I put the list in it. And nothing much happened until that Sunday when Nicholas Kristof wrote a whole piece on it, and then in his blog said, on his personal blog said, and I got this from M.J. Rosenberg, how would I in the old days, how would Nick Kristof have ever seen anything I did, let alone have the opportunity to take my narrow niche readership and turn it into the New York Times, which causes Harvard to it's amazing. But does it change policy? Not yet. Not yet. Because we're never going to have the money to catch up with the other side on that. But J Street is trying. J Street ran 2 ads yesterday, full-page ads in the Times and the Wall Street Journal, spent $300,000 on ads. That shows how much money that they've got, and they're spending it on campaigns to elect or re-elect good people who support, progressive policies in the Middle East. But that's not the majority. It's still, whenever AIPAC puts out a letter, actually when they write a letter and it's circulated by some congressman, hundreds of members of Congress will sign it. That has not changed. The only good news is my friend who works on the Hill said, we used to have only 30 good guys up here. We now have close to 100. And he gave me the list of the 100, and it's true. That's significant. There are 535 members of Congress. 100 of them think about this issue and don't follow the line. So that's important. But the main change will come through demographics. Just the way we talk about how the Israeli-Palestinian conflict will come through demographics. The main change, as Jerome was talking about the Jewish community, it's demographics that are changing the Jewish community. The kids of the people my age. So I'm a baby boomer. We have the most kids, obviously, because we're the baby boomers. We're the most people. Are not like the way we were. We were brought up on Israel. Israel can do no wrong. But the kids, and these are the kids who are on the blogs. These are the best kids at the kids at the elite schools. These are the kids who are going to run for Congress. These are kids to be all over the place. Jewish, not Jewish, whatever. They don't buy into this stuff anymore. You can't just say to them, well, Israel is right because it's right and because of the Holocaust. They don't think, just the way Europeans have grown beyond thinking in those national terms. Talk to a German, how proud he is to be a German. They say, what are you talking about? I'm a European. I mean, the world has changed, and the Jewish community has changed too. What's going to happen with Congress is that once the people who have the money to write the checks is this generation of 24-year-olds. When they're old, I mean, that's the way life works. These 24-year-olds become the ones who are rich, have businesses, and are politically active. Congress will change too. So we've done. It is inevitable. The fact of the matter is, I talk to kids all the time. 100 people work at Media Matters, and most of them are 24. And the old way of thinking is gone. The APAC kids who show up every year and they drag them to their conference, they say, we have more kids than we ever had before. They all get free trips to come to Washington. That's why they come. The birthright trips that they go to Israel, we had 2 billion kids went to Israel on birthright trips. You can give, if you have a college kid and you offer them a free trip to Libya, they will go because, one, they know they're going to stay in hotels, they're going to be with people of the other sex, and no one's going to be watching them. And it's a foreign country. I mean, the fact of the matter is the trending is going in our direction. The politics in this country moves so slow. When the progress happens, you'll notice it first in the House, and then maybe 200 or 300 years later, the Senate will notice. But in any case, I've never been this optimistic, and not about the situation in the region. I'm not saying that. Optimistic about the fact that when we get the information out there, the democratization of information. Charles Krauthammer he matters to the people he drives crazy, who read the Washington Post in paper, and who are mostly older. I mean, but he has no, the younger ones would say, what is this? They wouldn't even know who he is. They barely care. So it's just like, and I'm going to say to you who are those who use the phrase of a certain age, of which I am, there is absolutely no excuse not to be on the web. You have to. You just have to keep doing it until you get it down, because that is where the important information is coming out right now. It's exactly where I want to be. And if I believed in God, which I do sometimes, I would certainly thank him for having allowed me to have been born in 1947 when television came out, and to be around for all this, and to get to use it, and get to be part of this thing. And the thing is, it's so democratic that there's no reason that any one of you who has an opinion, you can create your own blog easy. There are so many ways to get it out, and that is how we're going to win. If you saw how the difference that tweeting made to the Iranian Green Revolution in a country like that, you know what possibilities we have here. So I'll just end there and just say thank you, and thank you for all your activism.